Hey guys, welcome to the channel. So today I just wanted to share with you, I just got my 80th anniversary Mattel. So this is the He-Man and Skeletor 2-pack. This is the retro pack that was released recently. This originally was, I believe, a Target exclusive, or so I thought anyway. However, I picked mine up from Walmart. It's available on the .com and .ca sites, and it's around 50 USD or around about 69 or 70 Canadian. And just to take a quick look here, just a close-up, so you see He-Man and Skeletor there inside the package. Nice artwork. You got He-Man and Skeletor battling on the front. And this is supposed to be, I guess, a faithful recreation of the original, the vintage one from back in the day. And as soon as I open it up, I guess we'll take a look if that's true. And the art, you can see the toy art on the back. Looks relatively faithful to the original. And then it shows some of the features. It's got the twist waist, the battle punch function, and the original squishy rubber heads, and then some more nice artwork on the back. All right guys, let's open this up. I'll be back in a jiffy. So I just opened up this little cardboard ribbon piece out. Took me a while to get the tape off. Here's the inside of the box. You can see the figures, He-Man and Skeletor. It looks pretty nice, I would say. Very retro, vintage aesthetics to the characters here. Then you got the artwork on the right hand side of the box. It's got the vintage mini comic art. So you see He-Man there standing close by Castle Grayskull there. And you got Skeletor on his throne. And then we're gonna take this out here. Little piece of cardboard here comes out. Then you got He-Man over here. Put that over here. And then take out Skeletor here as well. Okay. There's no artwork like in the back of the box. It's just basically just this red exploding rock type design, just like the card backs. So we're going to put that aside. And then we got a He-Man over here. Just take a close look of the figure here. It's got a faithful recreation of the original exploding the bricks of the card backs from back in the day. And you can see the weapons in the back there, He-Man's weapons. And then more artwork here on the back, He-Man in front. Then you got Teela in the background with Man-at-Arms. Very nice. And so the bubble here in the front, guys, it's basically just one long plastic sleeve that you can slide up and down, and you could take the card back out. So it's not like glued on like how the originals were. I think that's a nice touch, especially for a lot of us collectors who actually want to take these out and enjoy them. You got Skeletor, and he's got his Havoc staff and the sword, half sword on the back package there. There you go. All right, guys, let's take, I'm gonna take Skeletor out right now. So this slides out like that, like so. That's the card back. Put that aside. Comes with his original mini comic here. And then take the plastic off, and you got Skeletor right here. All right, guys. So we got Skeletor here. Let's take He-Man out. There's some like plastic fasteners here. I'm gonna have to cut that off. So as soon as I just jump out of this segment, I'm gonna cut those little fasteners off. Gotta look for a pair of scissors. Take the card back out for here for He-Man. We got his mini comic and He-Man himself. All right, guys, I'm gonna be back in a bit. I'm just gonna cut these little plastic fasteners off over here. All right, guys, so I'm back here. It took a while to get these things out of their little plastic trays, but I just got them out. Here's a close-up of Skeletor here. Very nice. He's got the squishy heads portrait. I mean, very simple articulation, right? You know, you can move the arms like 360, that's about it. You can't do lateral movements or anything like that. These are supposed to be faithful to the original vintage figures, like with their articulation. The legs here, they have like a ball joint type deal going on. However, I wouldn't say it's that. I mean, articulation wise, it's okay, but I would have preferred if they had the black, like, you know, the thick rubber elastic, like how they did with the vintage figures. It gives you more options for, you know, posing, I would say, but I don't know, it's all right, I guess. I think that's the only drawback about these. And of course, it does have its, you know, waist swivel punch, like power punch feature. So there you go. Skeletor came with his half sword, purple half sword here. Here's the other side here. So it doesn't look like there's an indentation here for both the swords to connect, He-Man and Skeletor's. You know, this thing here looks like an indentation, but it's not. It's probably some sort of, you know, production manufacturing. I guess maybe the indentation was there, but there's nothing meant to, like, you know, put that in there, other than they did swap it out and they put these two little, you know, like little areas here where I believe you'll take He-Man's half sword and you'll join it together. You see how He-Man's sword has those two little holes there? So the original one would have like a little slit here and you could connect them together. Whereas these new ones, you just put them together like this. You can just, let's take a look-see here. And there you go, guys. So two halves become one sword, purple on one side, gray on the other. And then from there, you know, you can just split them apart. Splitting them apart is a bit of a, it's a little tricky, but there you go. So that's the only difference. You know, you would have like one of them would have like a little like peg popping out in the center here, and what would be a slit with the vintage ones, but these ones have these, they just changed it up a little bit here. So there you go. And we got, and just like the original ones, they stayed faithful to, they have this little, like hand guard that goes over the handle. And I always thought it was kind of funny how you know, you got to put the little guard over the hand like that for Skeletor, for example, because he can't hold it the other way, something like that. Or you can put it on that side, but the problem is then he can't hold his havoc staff because he only has one gripping hand, just like the original He-Man figure and Skeletor figures did. So there you go. Looks like that. Not bad, pretty good. The only thing is, guys, I don't have the original Skeletor on me, or a loose one on me right now. I do have a carded Skeletor, a vintage one, and a carded Beastman, and those are in storage. I was shuffling through some of the boxes in storage because I have a bunch of figures in Rubbermaid totes and cardboard boxes, and I couldn't figure out where I put it, so I just brought out a vintage Skeletor substitute here, and this is an old battle armor one. So this is from the 80s, just a loose one, right? And you see how he's got the elastic black elastic just there for like how the vintage ones did back in the day. Those little black elastic connector pieces, squishy rubber head. I mean, I think overall they've done a pretty good job at staying faithful to the original head sculpt. You know, slight difference, but not too much. But of course, this has aged quite a bit though. So, I mean, and depending back in the day where you get your Skeletor, it could be, you know, I know that some companies where it was manufactured outside of North America, there would be like slight variants to Skeletor and He-Man. For example, the colors on the face, some would be a little bit more yellow with a little bit of green, some would be more green. Some would have hard heads rather than soft, and He-Man's hair would be more of a bright orange or a yellow, as opposed to maybe more of a tan colored, you know. So there you go. And now we're going to take a quick look at He-Man hair. And I mean, the head sculpt is pretty good. Squishy head, up and down movement in the arms. And it does have its power punch. All right, same articulation like Skeletor. He's got that ball joint type deal going on. Boots are different. They're not like exactly the original. You can see the little, kind of like the little bindings around the boot that are all painted up dark. Underneath the boots, they have like a little, like a peg, like an insertion peg area here under the foot. So I don't know what that's all about. And of course, outside of the boot, there's an indentation here as well. The original did not have that. And I do have a loose commemorative figure of He-Man here. And I do have a vintage He-Man here as well, which is pulled out of my gift set. I have a vintage He-Man gift set from back in the day, which is in really good shape. Of course, open box. So that's one of the main reasons why I'm taking vintage He-Man out. So side by side comparison. So on the right hand side, guys, that is actually commemorative He-Man. This is a loose one. I don't have his weapons or anything with him. I mean, they're both pretty good. The only thing about the commemorative I didn't like is I felt that the paint on the teeth was a little sloppy. You know, I mean, the harnesses, there's a color of the harnesses are a little bit different. This one has a slight more of a silvery type shine to it. The texture, like I would say the texture on this one is more softer on the 80th anniversary. And of course, this is more tanned. The belt on He-Man has more of like a bronze tone, like a kind of like a bronze color to it. This one's more flat. Even his tights look more flat. However, this one is more of a faithful recreation of the vintage one because it does have the rubber, the black rubber connectors there under the legs. I mean, where the legs and the hip connect. And of course, like the vintage one, the commemorative one pays homage to the fact that the guards, the bracers here, gauntlets, they're not painted. So there you go, guys. And now I am going to take my vintage He-Man here. So this one is in really good shape for how old it is, and it's been kept in his gift box for quite a long time. So this one is the vintage He-Man here. This is the 80th anniversary He-Man, so you can see the side-by-side head sculpts, guys. I honestly feel like the 80s He-Man, the vintage one here, his head sculpt still is the superior head sculpt. However, this is a pretty good recreation. Like from what I see up to date, out of all the modern like vintage homage figures that Mattel brought out, even Super 7, like I feel that this one is probably the best one when it comes to He-Man portraits. But still, the vintage one, like, I still feel the vintage one is the best portrait-wise. The features on He-Man's face on the vintage one are more pronounced. Like, they just looked more detailed, you know? You can see the difference on the gauntlets, right? Unpainted versus painted. So not bad. There you go. And then you can see on the waist here, his belt here on the vintage one is more orange color, and it has a little bit of a shine to it. And this one has more of a bronze kind of, it's a little bit lighter. Tights, the color of the tights are almost the same, I would say. This one has He-Man's tights here look a little bit darker, whereas 80th anniversary He-Man, his tights look a little bit more, I don't know, it's hard to say. Maybe a little lighter. You can't tell on the camera though. This one here has a little bit more of a tan, whereas this one's more whiter looking. And He-Man here looks a little bit more defined, his body. Also on the boots, guys, you can notice He-Man's boots here. They're all one color, right? Especially the little bindings around the foot, the boot. Whereas the bindings on the boot on this one are painted. Underneath, you can see the differences underneath. You know, the foot under He-Man here is flat on the vintage one, right? This one's got like some sort of insertion pegs in them. So for me, I still prefer this one. And this one obviously still has his power punch feature here, right? So he still has that, and he has his like squishy head here as well. So I'm not gonna like screw around with this figure too much because this is in really good shape for how old it is. And one more thing I want to share with you guys is the weapons. So I got a handful of He-Man's vintage weapons. So these are the vintage weapons. I'm going to put them aside here, set them aside briefly, and do a comparison. So this is the new 80th anniversary He-Man here. So the shield on this is hard, like it's like a hard plastic, right? And you got the vintage one here, where the interior of the shield is more of a dark orange, and then it's like a light orange on the left one here, the 80th anniversary. Ow. Also, the plastic is more, it's bendable, it's softer, it's pliable on this one. Then you can see the interior here, right? You got this like metal little button here. I'm not sure what that's all about. Don't see anything like that here. And of course, the orange portion inside the shield is like a cardboard. This one here on the 80th anniversary is painted. So that's the difference there. We're going to take a look at the axes now. 80th anniversary. So we got the 80th anniversary here, and we got the vintage axe. Faithful recreation of the original. However, the material for the vintage one is softer. This one's like a harder plastic, you know, so not bad. Okay, so I'm gonna put that aside. Lastly, we got the 80th anniversary power sword with the little handle, like hand bracer guard thing here, whatever the outside guard. So relatively faithful recreation, but not quite. Now we got the vintage one. Looks almost the same, but not quite. The thing I don't like about this is it's not entirely a faithful recreation because number one, the biggest thing is that there's separation in the sides of the swords here, unlike the vintage one where it's connected. I wish they did it like that. It would have been a lot better. The tone of this sword is a little bit lighter too. This one's a little darker. And of course the tip is sharper here where it's a little bit rounder here. And of course, this is what I was talking about earlier. When you take Skeletor's half sword from the vintage one and He-Man's here, you got this little indentation as opposed to how, you know, He-Man's 80th anniversary sword, they changed up the setup a bit on how it connects. So for me, I'm still a fan of the vintage one. I really like that as well. So this is the only drawback I feel with the newest one. So with the newest He-Man figure, I would say that's the drawback, guys. And of course, not having the black like the rubber connectors in the legs, you know, where the upper part of the leg here, the joint meets with, you know, the inside hip area here. I feel that would have been a better option. But I mean, nonetheless, I mean, if you want to just recreate your childhood, have something that looks vintage and it's still a great, like it'll still look great on your shelf, I do highly recommend these, and these are affordable and they're still available. Sometimes stock will be out and sometimes you'll be able to find that stock. Like Amazon, sometimes the stock is out, sometimes the stock is in, but you can check Walmart as well. And I believe Target is sold out. But keep checking, guys, and I'm sure that you'll be back in stock. Walmart for sure, from what I saw last, they still have it there. So are these worth getting? They are. For their price points, like $50 USD. I can't complain. Also, I don't have the original weapons for the Battle Armor Skeletor, my vintage one here, because they would have been good to compare with the 80th anniversary Skeletor's weapons. Of course, Skeletor's sword here, guys, is just like the 80th anniversary He-Man. It's not connected. See the sides here, they're not connected. Whereas the vintage Skeletor, the purple sword, was connected, just like the He-Man one. All right, and guys, so just wanted to share with you very quickly the comic books that came with. So right here, we got Battle in the Clouds. So this is basically a faithful recreation of the original mini comics from back in the day that came with the figures. I won't go through every single page, just to give you an idea. And lastly, Vengeance of Skeletor, another recreation of the mini comic from back in the day, one of the vintage ones. There you go. And there you have it, guys. I hope my review was informative. There's a few other vintage He-Man figures I have that are carded that I have in my collection. Prince Adam is one. Then I got Battle Armor He-Man, and I do have a Battle Armor Skeletor that's vintage on card. And I do have an original Skeletor, I'm not sure where that is, on card as well, and a Beastman, I believe, in storage. And of course, Thunder Punch. Thunder Punch was one of my favorite He-Man figures of all time. I have that on card as well. And other than that, guys, I hope you enjoyed the review. Like, subscribe, hit the notification button. And until next time, guys, I'll be back again soon with another review. Peace.